Hi everyone, I'm back, and my name is AmberCyprian for anyone who's just joining us. I am joined by my wonderful commentator Claris, who's going to be running Mania Plus. And this is Sonic 3D Blast. I'm gonna go ahead and answer the quick questions here. What version am I running? I'm running on the Sega Genesis version on the Nintendo GameCube Sonic Mega Collection disc. Long story short, the Genesis version. I also run the Saturn and PC versions. That's not what we're showing here. Category, best ending. Is Sonic Blast on Game Gear the same game? No. Alright, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I think my controls are set. Yes, they are. Cool, perfect. I guess I'll do a countdown and we can get right into the run. So are you good to go, Claris?
Yep.
All right. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. So, I'm just gonna let Claris get right into it, with talking about the flow of the game. So what Sonic 3D Blast is and what it's about.
Okay, so the goal here is, each stage is divided into multiple sectors, and in each sector there's gonna be 5 flickies you have to collect and 5 enemies. So she's gonna beat 5 enemies, get the flickies inside them, and then go to that warp ring, which will take her to the next sector. And this repeats 2 or 3 times for each stage.
Oh, wonderful. So we are actually also joined by another wonderful commentator. Her name is Kurayami, and she previously had the world record for this category until about 2 weeks ago or something like that, or less than a month ago for sure.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Sorry, I was late.
That is totally understandable.
I also completely forgot to start my own splits, so we don't know if I'm going to be on PB pace at any point.
But now fun that way.
But now, what in the world? Now we're in Green Grove 2, which is where I start doing things for best ending. So this is actually where I'm going to pick up my first Chaos Emerald. So the difference between any percent or beat the game and best ending is that I collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds or Chaos Cough Drops, because they look like halls. And I have to collect all 7 before a certain stage in the run, where there no longer are special stage opportunities, and that unlocks the final fight, which is the true final boss of the run. And the way we do this is we find Knuckles or Tails in various acts throughout the stage, or throughout the game, and we give them 50 rings, and they bring us here. And welcome to some of the lamest special stages in all of Sonic. It's not the PC 97 release, so it's not that bad, but
they're better than Sonic Advance 2's.
You're not wrong, actually. The goal of these special stages is to collect 150 rings in all, by the end of Section 3, so it's 50, 100, and 150. I'm going to go for various dumb numbers because I can and because it's funny. But generally speaking, you don't want to go over about 180 rings because the results screen tally, you'll start losing some time on that. Mostly just very few frames or whatever. But that's our first cough drop of the run, and you'll understand why I call them the magical chaos cough drops when I get to the final fight. But yeah, that's the way best ending works, is I find rings, find Knuckles and Tails, give them rings, get cough drops. Now's a pretty good time, now that I've picked up Speed Shoes, to talk a little bit about how the movement in this game works. If either of you want to talk about the physics and the controls in this game, by all means. That's a journey.
So yeah, the way the movement in this game works is that Sonic has got a really heavy amount of momentum behind him, so it's really clunky and hard to control at times. That coupled with the fact that it's all isometric based, it makes for really bad trying to figure out where you're actually at in the space. and makes the platforming a lot more difficult than normal Sonic games.
And yeah, like the believe it or not, the fastest way for Sonic to move, and you won't see me do it too often because it is very difficult to control, is in his airspeed is actually his top speed. And now we're in bosses. Bosses are probably a mixture of the easiest and most difficult parts of 3D Blast. And as you can see, this one isn't too hard, but this should be a 26 or a 27 in-game time. This game is timed in RTA, so real time. But we use in-game time often as a metric for how well we did in that stage. As we enter Rusty Ruin, this zone introduces a new type of floor tile, and a new state I can be in. If we want to talk about that while I rage at the bee I'm about to destroy.
Yeah, there's these spinning tiles which make Sonic like spin up and rotate constantly, and they make the controls even slippier basically and hard to move around. And you can't jump or you lose that state, and you can't get hit by spikes or other static obstacles or you lose it. So you need them to break these pillars that are scattered throughout the stage. So it's important to be able to control it well and not get hit. Like right here is a really long section you have to keep it through, where a lot of tight turns are really hard to make with these controls.
Yeah, I actually opt to play on GameCube controller, which is why I run on the Mega Collection version rather than like Steam release or anything like that, because I actually prefer playing this game with an analog stick for its 8-notched bezel, because Sonic moves in 8 directions in this game as opposed to just cardinal directions or just left and right in other classic Sonic games. So the GameCube controller is actually my preferred controller. I also run 2 players 1 controller with TGH, who currently holds the world record for this category. I am 3rd on the leaderboard right now, but we're going to introduce what we call freed flicky flagging, and I've already screwed it up by picking up a flicky. Not that it's really, like, rough, but during the special stage we'll explain it, because you'll probably notice something a little alarming. I'm not picking up these flickies. But, yeah, whenever I do 2 players 1 controller, I'm also on controlling Sonic, because I specifically use the control stick, and we use a GameCube controller. But, if one of you wonderful ladies would please explain freed flicky flagging before I trip over my own tongue and say something wrong.
So there's 3 states the flickies can be in. Still in the enemy, freed but not following you, and following you. So when you go into a special stage, any flicky that's free but not following you will be following you when you exit. So you can just break the enemies and leave the flickies to do whatever they want, and after you exit the special stage, they'll all be with you, so you don't have to worry about collecting them.
Yeah, that was actually that was a more recent discovery, and by more recent I mean like 5 months ago in November. Zergriff, who runs the Saturn version and is that best-selling version's world record holder, he discovered that, and we've been using that ever since. It actually allowed us to consider different emeralds for routing. So there are a total of 20 possible special stage locations we can get. So like total of 20 places you can find Knuckles or Tails. Not all of them are optimal. There's only about oh god. There's no, I fell down there anyways. Okay.
Oh no!
You saw me avoid it, and then I just like I'm gonna jump down there anyways. It's fine. Talking and playing this game is difficult. But yeah, there are 20 possible emeralds. Only about 10 of them are actually kind of viable. I pick the best 7 for marathons based on safety. Because again, after a certain point in the game, you cannot get Chaos Emeralds anymore. And that is Volcano Valley Act 2 is the last possible place I can get a Chaos Emerald. I try to get all of my Chaos Emeralds in marathons by the beginning of Volcano Valley 1. So based on viability, whether I can use free flicky flagging or a little later, there's a Genesis exclusive route for best ending that the other two versions of this game cannot use. And like based on all of those factors, it's determined what emeralds I choose to pick up. And sometimes if I do screw up a ring route, or so if I lose all my rings before I get to Knuckles or Tails, or if I fail a special stage, which is highly unlikely, I mean, look at them. I will have to sometimes bail out and get a backup emerald, and I give myself about 2 of those. Also, this is a boss.
Yeah, so you can damage boost right up to the claw at the start, which lets you hit the boss all 5 times before the boss can actually do anything.
Mm-hmm. The fastest possible time for that is 10 in-game time, which I have achieved before several times, and have also done it with 2 players, 1 controller, which was the first time I ever got a 10 IGT, which was hilarious. That was a fantastic IL. But yeah, there's that's actually a very tight frame window. I think it's a 10 frame window. Also, that flicky's a jerk. So actually, while I work on this ring route, because I'll pick up an emerald shortly, can y'all talk about the flicky colors and what they do for their AI? Because it's not all the same.
Okay, so the blue flickies, once they fly down to the ground after being freed from the robots, they'll loosely try to follow around and find Sonic, if he's within sight. The purple ones will be more closely going for Sonic as far as I can tell. The green ones just go wherever the hell they please, so those are annoying to get. And then the red ones, they just kind of bounce around back and forth. They'll turn slightly towards the clockwise direction, so they're not constantly bouncing back and forth. They'll kind of like slowly rotate in case they end up hitting a wall. So it's a little bit harder to catch them if they're like right up against a wall or something like that.
Yeah, we actually recently discovered, or rather Upthorn, who has done some looking into this game. Upthorn discovered that the flicky directions are actually based on like they all have their AIs, like Kurayami just explained, but the way their directional facing is determined is based on what frame you are in the stage. Like their cycles are actually global. So like based on the frame that they touch the ground, it also depends on their proximity to Sonic. So like the greens will just randomly change their direction based on what frame it is in the stage, which is really funny. It's a really interesting way of handling pseudo RNG in this game, which the green flickies are the closest thing to real RNG you get. Everything else is either global or camera cycle based. But yeah, Spring Stadium has the most mediocre music in the run, and also has probably the worst boss, and also it's the worst zone in the game. I will openly say that. Oh, please, please, please. There we go. But yeah, this game is a glitchless game. Has the only exploit that exists in it really is that's usable in a run is the freed flicky flagging exploit, and that's only for best ending. And then otherwise, it's very, very based. It's movement based and momentum and skill, and it's honestly a really good beginner speedrun, but very difficult to master and optimize.
What? Did you not get any rings?
No, I actually do not get this emerald. So my emerald route for this game is not hitting the spider. It is it is Green Grove 2 Knuckles. Oh my god. Rusty Ruin 2 Knuckles, Spring Stadium 1 Tails. If I miss any of those 3 emeralds, I get Spring Stadium 2 as a backup. Then I get Diamond Dust 1 Tails, we get 2 emeralds in Diamond Dust 2 via Knuckles and Tails, and then I get my final emerald should be Volcano Valley 1. If I mess up any emerald after Spring Stadium 1, I use Volcano Valley 2 Tails as my last backup.
Ah, okay.
So ideally, that should not happen, because Volcano Valley 2 Tails is not the most fun emerald to get, because shields are a thing in this game. You have your blue shield, which is your standard shield. You have your gold shield, which allows you to use homing attacks prior to Sonic Adventure being a thing. And then you have your fire shield, which is the red shield, and that's very important in Volcano Valley. It makes things so much easier. But now I'm going to be quiet, because this boss is garbage. Alright, 4 hits is fine.
Yeah, I personally wrote up notes for this run for what I should do for commentary, so I'll just read what my notes are for this, and it's worst boss, OMG worst boss, did I mention worst boss?
Yes, that is exactly it. I will take a 30 or below in any run. The fastest known time for this boss is a 17, and the people who can get it, I've only gotten an 18. The people who can get 17s, and there are currently only 2 of them, are absolutely insane. Shoutouts to Lexi, who just did the Sonic Adventure 2 battle run. Oh my god, I hate this snowman. She was the first person to be able to get a 17, and actually is the reason why it is done in the best ending task by the only kid, which I was a router and consultant for as well. That task is absolutely ridiculous. You should watch it. Just saying. What? Okay. That's cool. I took that spring at a very strange angle. But yeah, this ring route, you saw me take a hit earlier. I do get an emerald in this stage. And thankfully the ring route is incredibly lenient, because there's pretty much 50 rings between the beginning of Sector 2 and where I get Tails. And we also do another instance of freed flicky flagging.
Okay, that scared me.
That scared me! Oh my god! I'm doing this on no sleep, and I'm like, oh man, I expect a bad emerald route here. But yeah, actually, this would be a very good time to talk about the fact that I'm gonna get 2 emeralds in the next stage. So definitely a good time to talk about that, if you would please.
Oh yes, so there's both Tails and Knuckles in each stage. In the Genesis version, you can actually get an emerald from both of them in the same stage. She'll be getting 50 rings, go to Tails, get the emerald, then getting 50 more, going to Knuckles, get an emerald. Now, that only works on the Genesis version. In the Saturn and Windows PC version, it will instead give you an extra life if you do a second special stage within the same act. So, that's a route difference that is only possible on Genesis to do.
My finger is slipping on the control stick.
Oh no.
There we go. That's why you saw me slide back there. I was like, I don't want to try to readjust while I'm right next to those spikes with no rings. Because that would be bad. So I was like, let me get by the wall. Also, Kura, can we talk about snowmen in this level? Snowmen are awful.
Oh god, they're terrible.
It's like... I'm sure you have plenty of war stories like I would.
Yeah, so they have this really weird physics about them where if you roll into them a certain way, they're supposed to spawn an ice block that has a trapped blue flicky in it. And sometimes it loves to just drop that ice block right on top of Sonic's head and crush and kill you instantly. So you have to be very careful about spin dashing into them. Jumping is the safest method, but it's also slowest.
Actually, the funny thing is that a lot of people do mistake that for a Crusher Death. It actually isn't, believe it or not. It's a lot like the, it's, one of the only other glitches in this game. It is kind of like the... Hold on, be quiet for this stupid snowman, I hate him. Alright, there we go. he's the main, like, run ender for me in Diamond Dust 2. Anyways, so you'll notice that he moves around and shoots snowballs in a round pattern. He is a moving turret, and turrets are the worst in this game, so moving turrets are even worse. You can beat his, like, what happens when you're approaching him for a roll, if you get hit by his projectile as he fires it, you'll then, like, it's like the spike glitch in Sonic 1, where you lack iframes even though you should have them, and you just immediately touch the snowman and die after taking damage. It's so bizarre. Because, like, it looks like the ice block kills you because the snowman also dies, and I don't understand why it functions like that. Another good example of, like, things I don't understand in this game is there's, in Volcano Valley 2, the fire shield you get in the, beginning of that stage, you can lose it. It's supposed to protect you from fire damage, so, like, fireballs, lava. There's a particular fireball that immediately after you get the shield, you can take fire damage and lose the shield. And I don't understand why that works. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And God. Oh, don't just walk into... Okay, we're just gonna spin dash here. I needed to... Oh God. I need to kill this snowman now. Okay. There we go. I usually rely on that gold shield a lot to be able to kill that snowman reliably and not lose my rings, because I do not want to lose my ring route here either.
This will add to the suspense of the run here.
Oh yeah. No sleep, talking, and just... Oh man. It's a recipe for success in 3D Blast. But yeah, this is our second emerald. This is an exclusive Genesis route, and I hate Knuckles 6 with a passion. Like, there's just a clump of, a clump of spikes right here, like I just went over. They're just, like, so bad. Getting hit in a special stage in the Genesis version, you lose, 10 rings, and you lose a second of time. It's more an annoyance than anything, but there is no worse feeling than being right at the end of a special stage, not really having 10 rings left to pick up, and then taking damage. It's kind of just putting a nail in the coffin there, but we're okay. So, coming
What?
up... Huh?
Nothing.
Okay, I was gonna say, coming up next is, like, one of the funniest AI exploitable bosses in the game. But go ahead, like, there's gonna be pretty much nothing to talk about during that boss, other than how bad its AI is.
I mean, I was just gonna say that 6 emeralds one to go to just, like, fill space.
Oh, yeah, that's 6 cough drops. Which I might need some cough drops after I've done commentary for SA2. I'm doing this run, and I'm commentating for Mania Plus, which is going to be fantastic. By the way, you should stick around for that.
Totally. I promise.
Yeah. The Encore mode run is fantastic. I'm going to completely mistime my jump there. But Eggman is not super bright here. You're going to see me just kind of lead him for these first 4 hits or so. So I can catch him as soon as I can on the descent. The TAS actually uses those snowmen that he drops to gain a little bit of extra height with their jump to be able to hit Eggman as like even sooner than a normal player could. I don't think any human being has tried to implement that, and I can absolutely see at some point Kurayami, the mad woman that she is, trying to do it.
I think the last run I did, I got 2 hits in, but no more than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like I couldn't keep up with the amount of, like, having to manipulate him that much to be able to get more than 2 in.
The fact that you got any in is actually remarkable to me.
Basically.
Like, you are absurd for that. So, let's talk about this tight ring route I'm doing right here. Volcano Valley has 52 rings in this section that I'm going to be working with. the two that are on the other side there, you saw me take that really carefully because I didn't want to fall in the lava. But the two you didn't see me pick up are the only 2 rings of leniency I have. In the Saturn version and the PC version, it is a perfect 50 ring route without having to go really out of your way for more rings. And in the Saturn and PC version, because you can't pick up 2 emeralds in Diamond Dust 2, I actually have to do Volcano Valley 1 for my version of the route, along with Volcano Valley 2. So it's definitely really scary that I don't really get much of a backup outside of, like, Volcano Valley 1 and Tails, which is alright, I guess, for, like, a last-ditch, like, no reset. And then we don't want to talk, like, we don't talk about Volcano Valley 2 Knuckles. That is arguably the worst emerald in the game because of its location.
Yeah, that you have to backtrack to the, like, very start of the stage, don't you?
Mm-hmm. All the way from, like, Sector 3. And it's actual garbage, so you have to maintain your rings. And if you lose your fire shield for some reason, that's really hard to do. Because it involves jumping over a huge chasm of lava with no fire shield. That seems like a recipe for disaster. Oh yeah, I did get all the emeralds. So now the rest of the run until the final fight is going to be seen as any percent, which is, or beat the game. So that's actually definitely a weight off my shoulders. I did not mess up my emerald route in any way, shape, or form, so I consider this run a success, regardless of how the rest of it goes. Also, if someone could talk about these blue platforms and the fact that we skipped, like, part of it. Like, not really skip, but, like, we take advantage of this. And I failed to and almost, oh my god.
Oh, no.
Oh my god.
So, I just gave myself a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way the blue platforms work is there's 2 little spin dials on each side of it that activate whenever Sonic's spin dashing to raise the platform up along a trail. What we do is we get on the far end of it, so that way we have plenty of room between us and the wall. And just as soon as we get up high enough, we can go ahead and let go of the spin dash and jump up against the wall to be able to keep a lot of vertical momentum as we jump up over the ledge to get onto the rest of the stage.
Yeah, so it's think the super bounces in Sonic Adventure 2, but prehistoric. Also, to answer the very likely question in chat, can those platforms crush you? Yes. If you let them descend on your head, they can and will crush you.
That's not a Sonic game without crush dust somewhere.
Oh yeah. Like, there's those platforms, and then there's similar platforms in Panic Puppet 2 that can kill you. And have killed me in the past. Those are not very fun. So, we can talk about the Volcano Valley 3 boss now before I get to him, because he lasts all of like 20 seconds. Can we talk about why he lasts 20 seconds?
Yeah, it's not the best designed boss I've seen. I don't know really what to explain. It's just badly designed, and you can just jump into them repeatedly. They just stay in the center and don't move at all. So yeah, like this you'll understand in just a moment why this boss is so poorly designed. I don't think they were fully aware that you could just do this. I'm just holding down right. And also, Sonic's a lava walker when he beats a boss. You actually cannot die after you kill a boss. It's fantastic. So even if you have 0 rings, you can walk on the lava and not care. yeah, I just love being able to walk straight through spikes, like on Gene Gadget.
Oh yeah, I was planning fully to like show that off. Oh no, I lost a flicky!
Oh no! Oh no!
Let's revisit this. Can we talk about why the stage is awful, please?
Turrets are literally the worst thing to exist.
Yes.
So there's all these pipes that take forever to go through, then you lose a flicky, and then go through the pipe. It's, well, the flicky can go wherever it wants.
Yeah.
The green ones.
If you didn't notice, I picked up 3 greens and 2 reds. Like, this is the point in the game where greens and reds are definitely plentiful, because they are the rudest birds on the planet. Like, I don't care what other game has birds for its that is an integral part of its speedrun, but these are the worst. If I ever see you in person and you give me a green flicky plushie, I will promptly just, like, probably light it on fire. I hate the flicky so much. But yeah, Gene Gadget is, when learning this game, I highly recommend when someone's learning this game to learn Gene Gadget first. Some people might advise against that, but it is honestly, at higher level, it is one of the harder levels in the run. I think Gene Gadget and Spring Stadium are the most frustrating levels in the run period. With like Panic Puppet 2 being, while hazardous, very easy because you don't have to worry about the flicky mechanic, which we'll touch on that when it becomes relevant. But oh man, you know what time it is? You know what time it is? It is time for the Slope of Rage.
Oh boy, everyone's favorite.
Everyone's favorite.
It's not my favorite.
Don't worry, it will be soon.
Oh yeah. So we should talk. Like, someone talk about the Slope of Rage while I try not to publicly rage about it.
So this first room that she's going through right now to pick up this purple flicky is actually the exit for where that Slope of Rage comes from. So as you'll see her going through this pipe here, she's going to be going up towards where the slope actually starts. If you fall all the way down, you end up back in that first area, and it's a long series of jumps that you have to get through along the slope back and forth to get to these purple and green flickies.
Oh man, thankfully there is a setup that actually works for that fairly consistently. It's just a bunch of visual cues, honestly. Oh my god. I just went through like all the rings, that was weird. But
The worst thing is the turret right at the end, because
God,
that can hit you and you lose all your flickies.
yeah, that's actually
right at the start of the slope.
Like, just, my goodness, like, I do not like Gene Gadget 2 at all. It is an actual nightmare. The reason why it's called the Slope of Rage is actually entirely my fault. When I was, I've been running this game on and off for about 5.5, almost 6 years, but I didn't start taking it seriously until, earlier last year, and then actually came in full swing for it, as my main game in October. But I had so much trouble with that slope. By the way, this is a boss. I had so much trouble with that slope that I started calling it the Slope of Rage. And there is another slope in Panic Puppet 1 that we actually don't have to do anything with, but I thought we had to when I was learning the game. There's a roundabout way to get the flicky, and the roundabout way is actually what you would consider the most direct way from, like, a casual perspective. And involves, like, isometric platforming up a slope that you don't have to do, and it's actually terrible. So that's called the other Slope of Rage, but no one cares about it. Also, this boss is Autoscroller the Boss. If you stand at a 45-degree angle on this conveyor belt, you move it like 3 pixels a second, completely ignoring the entire gimmick of the boss. Really cool tidbit is that those spike blocks that are supposed to be an obstacle, well, first off, I can walk right through spikes after the boss is dead. But their pattern on Genesis versus their pattern on Saturn and PC are 2 different patterns. It'll always be the same on Genesis and always be the same on Saturn, but they're, oh god. But they are exclusive from one another. There's no RNG there with the spike blocks at all.
Yeah, so this stage, instead of the flickies being enemies, they're just in these tubes, which, thanks to how tall they are and how great hitboxes are, they're actually an absolute pain to break those tubes to get them out. So really, Eggman should have put them in those tubes from the start.
Yeah, honestly, that would have been far more aggravating. Actually, he should have put them all in the snowman turrets.
Oh god, no.
If someone mods this game to have nothing but snowman enemies, I will fight you on sight. Like, if you did that, I would play it. I would fight you on sight, but I would play it.
Amber, you're gonna have to get in line on that one.
Oh my goodness. I also recently did a run of this game on Wiimote and Nunchuck. That is not fun.
Oh no.
I have this bad habit of following through on really bad ideas. For example, running the PC version of this game for best ending. The special stages are terrible, don't play them. If you run best ending, run this or the Saturn version. If you don't mind load times, run the Saturn version, they have the best special stages. But now we're in pure platforming goodness? Question mark?
Or hell, depending on what you want.
Yep. I'm also going to be fairly loud on the stream, and I'm gonna hope I get this right, because I know that there is some amount of audio delay, but Eggman! Specifically, Eggman. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised whatsoever. You'll understand why I said Eggman. Also, that was what we call MIPing, Mandatory Isometric Platforming, also known as the final boss of the game. That is a section that you cannot skip for platforming. Like, typically, in other situations where the game intends for you to platform normally in an isometric viewpoint, by God, you can skip it with a spring or a spin dash jump or a well-timed run and jump. That is the only place you can't do that. So it is called Mandatory Isometric Platforming, or MIPing. And the fact that I did not screw it up in the middle of a marathon run was absolutely fantastic. So this boss takes place in Eggman's nose. It is a 12-hit boss, and if I were playing any percent, this would be the final boss. But I find it very underwhelming, which is why I do best ending. Actually, no, I do best ending because I find it to be a very dynamic category. Because of the ring and emerald routing, and just like the fact that you can learn the game in any percent, but if you want to like really learn how to like control Sonic and like figure out how to optimize things, best ending is the way to go. In my opinion. And there's I'm not even talking about this boss because it is not very like significant, but this face is pretty interesting. There are two ways we can go about fighting this boss. I'm gonna do the faster one, but the slower way, which is far more entertaining, is that both of these hitboxes, when the arms are firing the blue balls that I'm trying to avoid getting hit by, or avoid having them spawn, which I'm not doing a very good job of, when one arm fires, both arms are actually possible to hit. They're vulnerable. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. So I could have actually just stood here and just jumped repeatedly and been done with the boss, but that's about, I forgot how much slower it is, but it is some number of seconds slower.
Yeah, it's like 4 seconds slower, I heard?
Yeah, it's like 4 seconds, I think. But now Sonic's gonna T-pose on Eggman, and the Chaos Cough Drops, they're very different from the Chaos Emeralds. What happens with these is that normally you'd think, oh, I'm gonna do this final weapon fight, and we're gonna be super, we're gonna be in space, it's gonna be like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, it's gonna be awesome. No, there's no Supersonic in this game. There's this really chill track and this kind of cool looking boss arena with this really lame auto-scroller, glorified auto-scroller of a boss fight. But there is actually ways to optimize this, and that is not one of them. So if I'm gonna actually be quiet for the rest of this boss fight because I use a lot of heavy audio cues going forward. So if either one of you want to talk about this boss fight or answer questions in chat, whatever works for both of you, like by all means.
Yeah, so there's gotta be 5 different phases in this boss, and you go through all of them twice. It repeats after you go through each once. So all of these phases are really simple, so there's not much of a challenge to this fight. This phase, you just wait for the hands to crush you, and you want them to be as close to the center as possible. Like, they'll track you, so you want to keep to the center so that it won't take as long for them to go back to the sides for this last attack.
I hope you're like wondering where the last rocket went.
Yeah, and then here's these really easy to avoid rockets. And another hit.
This is my favorite phase.
Yeah, this is...
You can understand why. So that safe spot was recently discovered by... it wasn't really discovered. I'm sure someone else has found it. But it was recently used for speedrunning purposes by TGH, the world record holder of the category. And I implemented the spin dash into it because I realized, oh, I could just stand here and charge a spin dash and just spin dash jump into him. It's fine. But yeah, I'm gonna be quiet again because I used audio cues for the upcoming phase.
Yeah, so nothing new here. She's just going through all the same phases again one more time.
But yeah, this is the phase I used audio cues on. I'm waiting for 8 siren alarms. And that's my cue to, like, get out from under this hand. There we go. So when I get to the final, so the 10th phase where I'm just kind of like directly in front of him, time will be on the fade out from the boss. And I'd like to take a moment to thank my commentators for joining me. I know I talked a lot, probably a lot more than I expected to. Because that's just, I've become really chatty because I'm tired. I almost completely botched that. Imagine dying on the final hit. That would have been funny. And time.
Girl. GG.
But, thank you so much, Claris and Kura, for joining me for this. T-posing Sonic again. And the magical chaos cough drops and terrible flickies. My fist is frickin' huge. And then Flicky Island was never heard from again for the rest of the series, and probably for the best. But yeah, this is a mediocre casual game turned actually very fun speedrun. I definitely recommend it, and want to thank the entire Sonic 3D Blast community, also known as the International Isometric Salt Mine. Shoutouts to the people who run this: Big John, Argic, TGH, Kurayami, of course. Claris, I've seen you experimenting with the game lately. Co-Empathy, Dagrin, who has the world record in any percent right now, and a few other people. Swezzy, who is the origin of Eggman, and yeah, and also shoutouts to Sega Junkie, the artist formerly known as Mike89. For who helped support my bad ideas. He's one of my best friends. And then, of course, Zergriff, who's also been one of the helpers on the tasks and the only kid for tasking this category, too. Super chill credits. Also, out of curiosity, what was my final time? Because my splits didn't start.
On the stream, it's 41:40.
Okay, that's a good time. My PB is a 39:59. I just got that 39 like 2 days ago. and my PB 6 months ago was a 5750. So it just shows how much room for improvement this game allows because of how optimized the movement has to be to do well in it. But if you ever have any questions about the game, reach out to me. My name is AmberCyprian. I'm always happy to answer questions about it. And definitely check out the speedrun.com page where a lot of our resources are now. But thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining me and for watching and for entertaining my my isometric I don't know the good word here. My isometric fancies, I guess. I don't know. I can't figure out words anymore, but stick around. Sonic Mania Plus Encore Mode by Claris is going to be up. I'll be joined by the Bailey Renee, who's actually the person who discovered the easier way of doing the third phase in Panic Puppet 3 in a casual playthrough, no less. But she'll be joining me for commentary alongside Claris running the game. So yeah, like we'll be back in just a few minutes.